Okay, so I'm going to show you how to enter grades in your gradebook. And let me just clarify one thing. When it comes to submitting quarter grades or semester grades on Thinkwave, you don't have to do anything additional. You don't have to click a button. You don't have to let anyone know. All you have to do is to make sure that your gradebook is updated before or on the date that it's due. Okay, so you don't have to print reports or anything. What on the administration side, those grades will become historical. Okay, so a file will be created so we can collect those grades historically. So again, all you have to do is make sure that your gradebook is up to date and all the numbers are in place and everything looks good on the day or before grades are due. Okay, so I haven't entered anything in this gradebook, and so I'm going to go to setup just to make sure that everything is okay. I do have to say there is a little bit of a challenge here because, for example, I know many teachers, maybe you teach one, two, three, four classes. You also might teach different levels. There is a bit of a limitation on the program in that as a teacher, you really only have one gradebook, and each class that you teach, even though each class is unique, each class is going to be set up in the same way. There isn't a way to adjust that. So, for example, I teach a high school theology class, a middle school theology class, and a geography class. So my geography class, I wish I could have categories that say, practice maps, warm-up maps, final maps, quiz maps, whatever. But I can't do that because that would change the categories for my high school theology class, which I don't want. It has nothing to do with maps. So you have to be a little bit more standard in your grading and just know what the codes mean for you. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. So if you go to grading options, let's just make sure everything is clear. I have set this how I want. So see on the upper left, it's default. So this is my default setting. And I generally like points, so each assignment is worth a certain number of points, but then the assignment category itself is weighted 20% of the final grade, and so all these numbers have to equal 100. If you want to change or add or subtract or rename any of these assignment types, you just go up here to assignment types, and then here you can create more, or you can rename them, or you can delete them. Okay? So I'm finished with that. I've already set up my assignment types. And I go to grading options. And again, I have to make sure all my percentages are okay. This is what I'm doing for my default, all right? Now in Mapping the World by Heart, okay, for my geography class, it's a little bit more frustrating because I'm limited on what I can do. So see, if I say I want flexible grading, look, see, I'm stuck with these categories. They don't match geography, but oh well. I will make up my own codes, okay? So whatever that is. But let's say I just want to keep everything on default. I like the way I have it. I like that my semester exam is this much. I like that my tests are this much, etc. I like that my participation is high because if you teach only once a week, I really depend on student participation and student preparation. Okay, so Mapping the World by Heart, it's default. I'm set up. I save that. Okay. I also want my Theology 2, Middle School Theology 2, and I want my Theology of the Body class to be that way. So I make sure that they're all default. And so I've set up my class. And now I want to go over to Gradebook. So I have several assignments in already. I have already collected work, obviously. It's October. I've already collected assignments for my Mapping the World by Heart class. So at this point, I just need to add everything, okay? So there's some quick steps here. There's some quick fill options, which are really nice. So I'm going to start off by saying my USA practice, and that's going to be, I'm going to call that, my practice is going to be in my assignment, and then I know what date we did that, right? And then I want to do points. Okay, so that was worth 10 points, and I may or may not have a description. I also have to, do, if I have anything here, great. I'm going to add another grade, and I want to call this one USA Quiz. Okay. and that's actually going to be one, I'm going to count that as actually a test grade. And that one was, let's say it was last week. Now let's name it today. I also want to make that points. I'm going to make that 20 points. And so I have two things already added. Now I have my grades that I can add for my students. Okay, so let's say I want all of let's say everyone received 100% on their USA practice map. So you go down to quick fill and you put in here 10, and if you hit save, it should populate. Okay, if everyone got 100%, that's what would happen. So that's really nice when you have things like completion grades or whatever. You'll notice here on the left that we have also an automatic calculation, and it's going to calculate using my percentages that I've already put in. Okay, so you're going to do this for each of the assignments you have. You may have 3 or 4, you may have several, you may have 15, you may only have 2. And we leave a lot of the judgment up to the professional and pedagogical training of our teachers. So if you have questions about standards of how many grades should I have, what should I set them as, please see Catalina to discuss that, and see me or Catalina or Laura or Andrea or Garnet if you need any help with Thinkwave. I also want to point your attention to this fact here, that there's this great video here in the upper right hand corner. They have, again, just explaining some of the features and the different view options. Also, this is one way to do it. You could also, if you wanted to do grades by assignment, so maybe you wanted to add comments based on that. Okay, so for example, if you only have 2 grades, perhaps you want to have comments about participation for each student. So for example, if this was a participation grade, let's say I add quarter, so first quarter participation, and that's due today, and that's points. Well, let's say I'm adding, that's 30 points. That's a lot of preparation that I'm asking my students to have, so I'm going to give a grade on that. But let's say I want to be more specific and I want to actually give students comments on that. Okay, so I want them to know, right? I want them to say, okay, this is excellent. The student maybe perhaps needs some work with self-control, whatever. You can also do things by student if you have like folders where you've collected things, by assignment. And then you don't have to worry about final grades. That calculates automatically. So I hope this was helpful, and this will help you at least put your assignments in. Remember, you don't have to do anything different. You don't have to click anything. You don't have to submit. It's automatically saved. Just make sure that your grades are completely up to date and everything looks squeaky clean by the time that these final grades or the quarter grades are due. It looks like the pull date on this is October 24th. So try to have your grades in and ready to go by the 24th. Again, you don't have to do anything except update your grade book. See me if you have any questions, and I'm happy to help. Thank you.